This video is going to contain some rather harsh language, and it's going to contain some even harsher preaching. If that bothers you, I strongly suggest you get off now.
You're all a bunch of fucking slaves!
Yes, you are.
You don't eat shit, wouldn't you?
Yes, you would. You know, a lot of you like to get on here and blame the elite for all your fucking problems. But you know what? You're 90% to blame. You know, America in particular, and a lot of the rest of the world, but in America in particular, you're a bunch of lemming, sheeple, mindless fucking zombies. Okay? These politicians, which have been raking you over the coals and screwing you over, find you the easiest marks. Conning you is so easy and so simple. It's like effortless. Getting you people to be evil and wicked is like simplicity itself. Everybody wants to be bad. On the other hand, getting you to be righteous and good is like, it's like swimming upriver with a bag of rocks, okay? Extremely difficult. You know, these zombie movies that you see.
That we are going off the air and switching to the emergency broadcasting system.
Look up the road, there's a lot more of them. Why are they coming here?
Maybe they're coming for us.
Are actually a metaphor for what this country is and what it's become. The mass majority of that's exactly what you are. Mindless, brainless, fucking zombies.
Look at them. The Walking Dead. The communist product of tampering with forbidden science and opposing democracy.
You can't think for yourself. You don't even try to think for yourself. You don't want to think for yourself. It's so easy to lead you astray. I'll give you a simple example here. One of the most ridiculous, illogical stories is this idea, this madman named Adolf Hitler, so-called madman, for no reason whatsoever, decided he wanted to wipe out an entire race of people for absolutely no reason. And most of you people believe that story without question. If you were capable of rational thinking, which most of you are absolutely not, within 10 seconds you would realize, within 2 seconds you'd realize there's something wrong with that story. You don't have to do any research. You don't have to do any research into World War II, into the Holocaust, or into World War II to realize there's something there that isn't right. They haven't told you the whole story. If you were capable of rational thinking, right off the bat, you'd know something's not right with that story. But you're not. If you went and told a 4-year-old, you know, there was this madman in Germany who wanted to kill an entire race of people, the 4-year-old would say, why? You don't say why. You don't ask that simple, basic question. I'm especially appalled by this horse shit in the Gulf. Hundreds of square miles are now covered with oil. And there's idiots out there who think that that's no big deal because the entire 615,000 square miles of the Gulf is not covered with oil. Is that when you will actually think it's a problem? When the entire 615,000 square miles of the Gulf is completely covered with oil, every inch of it is covered, will you think it's a problem then? Probably not. I don't think there's a level, I don't think there's a threshold that the average American would ever come to the point of thinking that there's a problem with destroying the environment. Not even when the last bit of life on Earth is finally wiped out, will the average American think that there's anything wrong with destroying the environment? As you are breathing, wheezing your last dying breath, choking on toxic fumes, not even then will the average American think that there's anything wrong with destroying the environment. Not even then. Not even then. If you see a tree that's more than 30 feet high, it's like, oh my God, where's my chainsaw? I gotta cut that thing down. I was shocked and appalled when I heard Rush Limbaugh, must have been more than a couple decades ago, say trees cause pollution. And I go telling people this. And Rush Limbaugh said trees cause pollution, and I get this blank look on their face. Oh, they do, don't they? Or don't they? I expect people to be shocked and appalled when they hear that Rush Limbaugh said trees cause pollution. I don't hear that. I don't hear that. People are like, well, maybe they do. Ooh. It's like, what the hell? And another thing, cutting down any tree that's more than 30, if you see water anywhere, you can't help it. You have to dump some shit in it. It's like, oh my God, I gotta dump some motor oil, I gotta dump some battery acid in that water. Oh my God, I don't have anything to dump. I guess I'll just have to piss in it. I don't have anything else to dump in the water. You people are mindless idiots. Don't you know you have to fucking drink that goddamn water? What you fucking think? You turn on your goddamn faucet and what water just magically just comes out of there like fucking Harry Potter or some shit? Here, I'm gonna tell you simple-minded, brainless, zombie sheeple idiots something that you don't know, okay? That water is connected, comes from pipes. You didn't know that, did you? It comes from fucking pipes, okay? You know where those pipes come from? They come from a fucking pumping station. You know where the pumping station gets its water from? It comes out of lakes and rivers. Where in the fucking hell are you going to find a lake or a river or an aquifer in the United States that's not fucking contaminated? Where the fuck are you going to find that? Okay, this woman is a water scientist and she lives in the Pacific Northwest, which is some of the most pristine and unspoiled water in the country. And this is what she has to say about water in the state of Washington.
They noted for communicable diseases was making an announcement that I just happened to hear. It was only on for one day. So they had done their public duty to announce to the public what they wanted to say. And in that broadcast, they noted that there was no safe drinking water left in the United States.
Now, if water in the state of Washington is in that bad a shape, what the hell do you think water's like in the eastern states? What about the South, where Jed Clampett never thought it was a big deal to piss in the creek and then drink out of it afterwards, okay? In the South, it has always been very lackadaisical when it comes to environmental protection. But you know what? Before you start blaming all your fucking leaders for all your fucking problems, you need to look in the mirror and see who's really causing it. Because these fucking asshole politicians couldn't get past first base with you and you had any real, genuine integrity. None of these psycho politicians would ever get to first base. They would never, their career would never get launched if this was a nation that had any true, genuine integrity. I mean, it's almost simplicity itself to get you to drop white phosphorus and depleted uranium on children on Iraq and Afghanistan. They don't have to. What do they have to do? It takes almost nothing to get them to convince you that it's okay to do that. It takes almost nothing for them to convince you that it's okay to go do that. You know, if you people at all thought for yourselves, or you had any real, genuine integrity, these psycho politicians, banksters, people, members of these secret societies, they couldn't touch you. These people, decades ago, their plans would have been thwarted, would have been completely stopped in their tracks before they even got off the ground. I don't put the majority of the blame on these psycho politicians, on these psycho banksters, on these psycho secret society type people. I don't put the majority of the blame on them. Because like I said, if you had any real integrity and if you thought for yourselves, none of these people could get anywhere with you. They would make a couple of half-iron attempts, you would stop them in their tracks, and that'd be the end of it. Many of you aren't going to appreciate what I'm going to say here and what I'm saying here, but you know, I'm not here to tell people what they want to hear, which is what most people do. I'm here to tell people what they need to hear. And that doesn't make a person very popular, but you know what? I don't really care. I've never been liked by a whole lot of people anyway, because I guess I've always kind of been that way. Brutally honest. And most people don't like that. You know, it's like these Rothschilds, you know. They go around, they're all soft-spoken. They all speak with this soft, sophisticated British accent. And everybody falls for it. You know, a con man is not going to come out and go, con man is going to be soft-spoken. There's an old word for the havamal, which is an ancient Nordic proverb. You know, he whose words are always fine cannot be trusted. And it's amazing how many people fall for that. Con men are not going to, you know, act like monsters. They're going to act like they're your best friend. They're going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm not telling you what you want to hear. I'm telling you what you need to hear. And I know damn well it's going to piss off a lot of people. So be it. Somebody's got to say it. Nobody else has the balls to say the truth, so I will. You know, one of the first rules of a con game is to appeal to somebody's greed or their selfishness. Offer them something selfish. You know, and that's almost all con games are based on that. You know, and so in a way, you know, the people who fall for con games are not quite completely innocent victims. Because they've fallen for some kind of crap that involves them being selfish and greedy. So in a way, more often than not, the victim of a con game is not innocent. And he's not completely an innocent victim. Maybe there are a few rare cases where that he is an innocent victim, but most of the time, the victim of a con game is not really all that innocent. I don't know, maybe one of the reasons why it's difficult for me to be conned and manipulated is because I have ADD and dyslexia. I mean, it's almost impossible to hypnotize me, you know. If some hypnotist dangled his watch in front of my eyes, I'd look at it for about 2 seconds and all of a sudden I'd notice the fly on the wall. My concentration would be broken. And gaze into my eye again and look at the watch, look at the watch. I'd look at the watch for about 2 seconds and I'd notice a bird fly by the window. Maybe that's it, I don't know. But it's never been easy to con me. I mean, yeah, sometimes. You know, maybe it's the ADD people, you know, people with dyslexia and ADD, those are the ones that are always the ones who are capable of seeing outside the box. You know? Part of the problem is when you live in a society, it's really difficult to see the problems of the society that you live in. But maybe ADD people can see them. Most the average Joe citizen can't see their own problems. They can see the problems in some other country, but they can't see the problems in their own country that they create themselves. Americans are you know, in some ways, are some of the dumbest people in the world. And you go around waving your little flags. We're free, we're free. You're free. There's more people in prison in the United States than, there's a higher percentage of people in prison in the United States than any country in the world. And you're running around waving your flags. We're free, we're free, we're free. We have all this, you know. Listen to a preacher this 4th of July going on about, well, this is the freest country in the world and we have all these freedoms. Freedoms. Yeah. You know, just tell you a fucking lie and you'll believe it every goddamn time almost, you know. If CNN, Fox News said a flying pink elephant knocked down the World Trade Center, you'd believe it. Most of you. Now, I believe in the Taoist philosophy that all things are interconnected. Everything. And that seems to be something that most people, especially here in America, don't seem to have any conception of that at all. They think they can do anything they want to anyone and anything else, and it's never going to affect them. You know, it's like, that's why, you know, even most truthers, if they, you know, in this country, don't seem to think there's anything wrong with raping and destroying nature to any degree. There's nothing wrong with it. There's never going to be any consequence. It's never going to come back and affect them, ever, under any circumstances. And it's the same thing, you know, they don't even care. They don't care about what they do to nature, trees, cut them all down, burn them all. Who cares? Dumb animals, who cares what they do to a bunch of dumb animals? Actually, these animals aren't as dumb as they think they are. But it's even other human beings they don't even give a shit about, you know? They don't care about people that live on the other side of the world. They don't realize that kind of shit's going to affect them. Dumping depleted uranium on Iraq and Afghanistan is increased radiation levels all over the planet, not just in Iraq and Afghanistan. They don't think everything is interconnected. That's completely over their head. If they don't see it directly right in front of their face and right in front of their eyes, they don't see it. They're just completely fucking oblivious to it. They don't realize the people, not just on the other side of the world, the people even that are on the other side of town can live like shit, and they don't think that that's a problem. That's what they're just a bunch of subhuman people. Who cares? They don't realize that's going to affect them. Letting those people live like shit is going to affect you. They figure they can live in their nice little gated communities and they can keep the shit out. Bullshit. Bullshit. You have to deal with it. That is affecting you. Even if one of those people over there, you know, they figure they got like the blacks or Hispanics or some other minority live like absolute shit on the other end of town. That shit is going to affect you. It's already affecting you. You don't have to wait for one of them to come over here and stab you in the back and slit your throat or rape your daughter or burn your house down when they riot or whatever. You don't have to wait for that. It's already affecting you, idiots. You're having to pay for these people. When a black crack whore gives birth to a child and that kid has to be in intensive care for 6 months, you have to pay for that with your taxes, you idiots. When that child grows up and is in and out of prison every 15 minutes, you have to pay for that, idiots. You can't just, it does affect you. So you want to know, well, what can you do about it? Well, there's a whole lot of things. Anything other than sitting on your ass and doing nothing about it. Just trying to ignore the problem and pretending it's going to go away. That's the last thing. I'll give you a couple suggestions. These people don't know how to live, okay? They were enslaved for centuries. When they lived in Africa, they knew how to live. They had a way, they had codes of ethics and living according to their tribe, you know, principles of the tribe that they lived on. They had a code. That was all taken away from them, and then they were taught to be slaves. The only thing they had to know to be a slave is how to cut hay or whatever, or pick cotton or whatever. They didn't have to know anything else, and that's all they needed to know. Then when slavery ended, these people don't know how to live. You know, some blacks were able to mimic the whites and try to live like the whites and have done okay for themselves, but a hell of a lot of them never did. A hell of a lot of them been abandoned by everybody, and just let them suck, let them live like shit, and just ignore the problem and pretend that there is no problem. Okay? Teach these people how to live then. They never were taught. Take the crack whore, take the would-be crack whore when they're still 10, 11 years old. Teach them you don't do drugs while you're pregnant. Okay? You don't do drugs when you have kids around you. You don't drink or do drugs with kids around. You don't drink and do drugs while you're pregnant. Teach them that. They don't know. They don't know you're not supposed to do that. They've never been taught that by anyone, including their parents. They never knew any either. You teach them what's right and wrong. You teach them what's moral. You teach them how to live properly. You teach them you don't switch husbands every 15 minutes, okay? Or boyfriends or whatever. And it's not just blacks that are doing this. Whites, Hispanics, everybody's doing this nowadays. Trade your partner every 15 minutes. Kids need to have the same partner for the whole time they're growing up. Okay, otherwise it really screws them up. And now everybody has lost that bit of wisdom. It's just everybody knew this. It was just common sense. Everybody knew it. Now it's gotten to the point where everybody's forgotten that. This is just a start. What you do, you can't ignore the problems on the other side of town. Everything is interconnected. Everything affects everybody. You can't just do that. That's one of the problems with Buddhism. They want to sit in their temples, go home, home, and they achieve these states of inner peace and ecstasy and spiritual heights and all, which is fine and good, but they just want to ignore the rest of the world and let the rest of the people suck. That's the mistake that Tibet made. They wanted to just sit on their mountain peaks and go home, home, and achieve these high spiritual states, which is all fine and great for them, but just completely ignore their neighbor over there in China. A hostile government, a psycho government took over called communism. It's right next to them. They've got almost no military of any kind, and they want to just ignore these neighbors, have no communication with them, no diplomacy with these people, and lo and behold, what happened? They came knocking on their door, didn't they? And that's what's going to happen to you, including you idiots living in your fucking gated communities who think that you're going to be safe. Wrong. You can't gate this shit out. Besides, living in a gated community, in my opinion, is almost like living in a prison. I wouldn't want to live in a gated community. Go out there and fix these problems that you can't ignore, morons. You know, it may have been primarily a group of white elite people, a minority, who brought these blacks over here in the first place. But it was whites in general who just ignored the problem, chose to ignore it. They didn't fight it, they didn't protest it, they didn't stomp it out. They chose to ignore the problem, and the problem isn't going to go away. This is the problem with Judaism. I don't know if I should get into that whole thing. Well, yeah, I will. These were a cast out people. 4,000 years ago, they were cast out. The other people, more civilized people in the area, cast them out, wouldn't have anything to do with them. They turned to crime and banditry, both somewhat out of necessity, but also out of anger and revenge. And now look what it's developed into. After several hundred years of slitting throats and stealing people's purses, they realized they could make a lot more money turning to white-collar crime. They became money changers, money lenders, and then later on banksters. And now we have this huge problem of this criminal Jewish elite which has taken over the entire world. A problem that was allowed to fester for 4,000 years, and now we have a major problem that needs to be dealt with. And I should add one more thing. You know, it's not just, I shouldn't just put all the pressure on the whites and blame everything on the whites, which is what some people do, you know. For you black people and Hispanic people and Asian people who have it a little bit better, know a little bit better about how to live, go help out your brothers and sisters that are struggling, you know. Like I said, you can't ignore these problems either. It's not just the white people who are ignoring these problems. You know, it's other people, the other races, other people. Everybody is ignoring these problems. Everybody wants to don't want to get involved, don't want to, you know, bother with this. It's not my problem. It is your problem. It's everybody's problem. And none of this stuff is going to get fixed by everybody just sitting on their asses, just hoping it'll just go away by itself. Or, you know, expecting somebody else to do it. Well, nobody else is going to do it, so then I guess it's up to you and up to me. What am I doing about it? Well, I'm making this video, for one thing. But I can't do it all myself. You know, I need help. I decided I should probably add another to those last two videos. because I got a couple people stirred up a little bit. I knew I would. You know, and the thing is, you know, the problem is everybody is blaming everybody else, and everybody is sitting on their ass and doing nothing about it. You got blacks that are sitting there saying, well, it's all the white man's fault. You know, he did this to us, he enslaved us, he did, you know, and you're sitting around waiting for the white man to fix it. Well, how long are you going to sit and wait for the white man to fix it? You got the whites that are sitting there like it's all the blacks' fault. You know, they just sit in their neighborhood and do drugs and do crimes, and they don't do anything to help themselves, and it's all their, you know, everybody's blaming everybody else, and nobody's doing anything. The same thing, I can say the same thing about the Hispanics, Asians, everybody. You know, you can say it's all the elite that started this. It's the politicians. You could blame everybody. Instead of sitting around on your ass, doing nothing to solve the problem, but blaming everybody else is useless. It does nothing. It accomplishes nothing. It is the problems. The fact is, it's like I pointed out in the last video. It's everybody's problem. Everything is interconnected, whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not. Sitting in, you know, your gated community is not going to make these problems go away. You know, these problems have to be dealt with. The system isn't working. Okay, throwing people in jail for a year or two and letting them out, is that solving the problem? No. If the system isn't doing anything, then it's up to us people to do something about it. What? There's a million things you could do about it. You people, you have creativity, you have brains. Anything is better than sitting on your ass bitching about everybody else causing the problem, or not bitching about everybody else not doing anything about it. Well, how about you do something about it? Nobody else is going to do anything about it, then you do something about it. What? Anything. I give you a couple suggestions, okay? Well, work with your congressman, form groups, you know, write your congressman, get involved with local politics, you know, try to form groups and organizations to help the poor and the needy, try to do something about the revolving door on crime. You know, most of this stuff, this government stuff, has never solved problems. In the past, a lot of times churches, the communities, people in the community would get together and try to, you got drug dealers on every corner, the cops aren't doing a damn thing about it, well then you have to do something about it. What? There's a million things you could do. There's a million things you could do. Okay, you got drug dealers on every corner. They're screwing up your kids. Well, maybe it's time to take the law into your own hands. The system isn't doing anything about it. You know, get some guy. You know, I mean, I'm talking both positive and negative things could be done. I'm not necessarily a person who just thinks that always, you know, diplomacy and passive resistance doesn't always work, people. Okay, diplomacy works most of the time, but there's times it doesn't work. There's sometimes you have to take some action. You know, there's a lot of solutions, but whatever you do, you can't just sit on your ass, blame everybody else, and do nothing. Okay, that's what I'm trying to get at here.